welcome to another edition of Steady Droppin Dimes. Folks, it is Daniel and I tonight. We're talking basketball. So we're talking basketball and purely basketball, Will. DJ. DG is like, what Steve Hoare said, is it too supple for DG? It might be a little too supple for DG if we're going to be talking basketball on Dropping Dimes. Listen, folks, Steady Dropping Dimes brought to you by our great sponsors, the newest of which, our friends at the Ann Arbor Sports Commission. You met the director of the Ann Arbor Sports Commission last week, Megan Hughes, who came on to tell you about a great event that they brought to Washtenaw County. The terrific event. I think it was the second annual event, the Washtenaw County Celebration of Girls and Women in Sports, and it was a tremendous event that they introduced, and I think you're going to see it for years to come in this area. But it was basically the first of many events in the new year in 2025. And so, as we were talking to Megan, one of the interesting things, because I think when you think about Washtenaw County, when you think about Ann Arbor and you think about sports, you think about the University of Michigan. And then, of course, if you think beyond the University of Michigan, you think about Eastern Michigan, and that's all the sports that you think about. Well, the Ann Arbor Sports Commission, they bring all kinds of sporting events on all levels to Washtenaw County. When you talk about youth sports, you talk about you talk about AAU sporting events, for instance. You talk about pro sports. When we talk about golf events, major golf events they brought to town. So professional sporting events, sports on all levels, they bring to Washtenaw County. And I know when we were talking last week to Megan, Daniel, you were saying, hey, your AAU organization, this is something that maybe you guys would look into. You would explore bringing an AAU tournament to Washtenaw County. And you got to say, well, hey, do I call you? What might we do? How might we go about bringing a tournament to the area? And lo and behold, well, there is actually an easy way to initiate that process. Of course, you can call Megan directly, and we'll get into that. But producer Ben, there is an easy way that folks can actually go about that if you're interested in bringing events to Washtenaw County via the Ann Arbor Sports Commission. You can actually go to their website, and there is a portal right on their website where you can do that, and you can submit a request for a proposal right there and start laying out all the information, and they will start engaging you right there. And that's everything from getting into the what your sport is and what you want to do and getting into the event space, but it goes into, of course, accommodations. You're looking for hotel space, and Dan, you can get into all that because you've obviously traveled with an organization, and so from travel to accommodations, all the things that you might need to get into when you're bringing in an organization from out of town to a place like Ann Arbor, right?
Yep. Yeah, definitely the hotels, the rental cars, the places to eat. Like when you travel with a group of people, especially an AAU team, a group like Ann Arbor Sports Commission can definitely help you streamline things where you have stuff planned out before you get there and not just winging it. So it looks like I'm definitely gonna fill this out and call Megan.
So the team in Ann Arbor Sports Commission provides complimentary services, by the way, event operations, volunteer outreach, venue recommendations, hotel coordination, liaison with the community, business partners, because you need that. You need partners when you engage in an endeavor like this. PR marketing and support, on-site assistance. You might need personalized athlete experience and services, visitor information and customer itineraries. All of these are services provided by the Ann Arbor Sports Commission. So again, AnnArbor.org. You can have the Sports Commission link is right there. Again, folks, if you are looking to bring sporting events to Washtenaw County, this is your portal. Or if you're looking for sporting events in the greater Washtenaw County area, this is your portal for that intel, for that information, the Ann Arbor Sports Commission. Now, Daniel, we see Michigan basketball on a winning track. It was coming off that Purdue loss. It shakes you a little bit as someone who loves Michigan, have visions of a Big Ten championship. I mean, it shouldn't have shaken your vision of that possibility, but it jolts you a little bit when you get run out of a gym like that, right? I mean, are you really as good as you thought you were? It definitely tells you got some improvements to make, right? But some other teams lost some games. Purdue, I had obviously lost the game before that. But coming off of that, we saw Michigan show some grit. They had some close games that they had to win in the clutch, right? Yeah. And those were some games, some style of games that they had lost earlier in the season. And we've actually seen them win those games here in recent days and weeks.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely been a few grinded out, middle of the year Big Ten style games over the last 4 or 5 since that Purdue game, right? And I said this early in the season that given the roster makeup and the parity that's in the conference this year, they're going to play a lot of games that are going to be 1 or 2 possession games coming down the stretch, right? And like I've always said, how many of those they win is going to determine, how the season finishes and where they'll be seated going into the tournament. They've been fortunate enough to pull a couple of those games out here, but they still have some issues that are rearing their ugly heads at the wrong time that can still causes for concern. Like you have they're doing a lot of good things and they're doing enough to win these games, but they also have some things they need to clean up as well moving forward.
Yeah, and we talk about those things a lot. I mean, turnovers, the most obvious of which, I mean, you have some guys that are the primary culprits. You still have some bouts of scoring droughts.
Yes.
You have some bouts of inefficiency offensively with some different players. But I was saying this to Tim earlier on the Basketball Insider. I want to see how my team, how comfortable they are being uncomfortable. And Michigan, let's set the Purdue game aside for a second. They in those tight games had to get more comfortable being uncomfortable, and they've shown growth in that category. And I like that, right? And so now they've been able to work their way back up. If you look at the standings, hey, Daniel, now back tied for first place. The only team that sits ahead of them is Purdue, who have played one more game in Big Ten play.
Yeah.
With a rematch on the horizon coming up on Tuesday. Now, Michigan has a game before that. They got to go to Bloomington, a team you on paper, you're better than, but you're going to their house, so you don't want to take that for granted. But this is what we need to explore on Droppin Dimes today. The top of the Big Ten. I'm calling it the halfway point. Daniel, I know we're a little past the halfway point.
Yeah.
But let's look at the top teams in the Big Ten at essentially the halfway point. You got Purdue at 10-2. You got Michigan and Michigan State at 9-2. You got UCLA, who has gotten up off the mat. We'll get into them. They've gotten up off the mat at 8-4. And I think they won, if I'm not mistaken, I think Purdue has won about, 6 straight, if I'm not mistaken. Won 6 straight games. So Mick Cronin, for everything that we've said about them and him.
Everything y'all said, not me.
I know. Chance to pump your chest on, beat your chest on that one. Right? They've gotten up off the mat. And so they're 8-4 along with Wisconsin. Maryland is next to 7-4. and then I'll make the cutoff point. Illinois is 7-6 because after that you're talking about teams under 500. Right?
You know why you can make the cutoff point right there? Because all of those teams in that top 7 or 8 are on the schedule to finish the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'll definitely find out. We found out a lot about this team moving forward. Like you said, they've responded to some adversity. They've answered a couple calls at the bell or whatever. But now I think moving forward, these last 8 or 9 games, they have all of those teams on the schedule pretty much. Ohio State, Maryland, Michigan State, Purdue, like you said. So only one that's not in that group is Indiana. And like you said, it's on the road at Indiana. So we're going to find out even more about this basketball team moving forward.
So what do you think of, you got Purdue around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Purdue is the one team. I look at the rest of these teams and I'm like, yeah, man, I'm just not intimidated by Michigan State. I think that they're there, and we'll get into them. I just think that the limitation they have shooting the basketball is the thing that brings them down to earth to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But Purdue, man, they can shoot it, and there's a physicality that I thought Michigan just didn't match. And when you add their ability to shoot it on top of that, that's a tough combination.
But they didn't shoot the ball very well against us that first. They only made 6 threes, 6 or 7 threes.
It's true.
So it's one of those things where Michigan has these stretches where you'll watch us and we'll look like Michigan will look like a top 10, top 15 basketball team in the country capable of making a deep run in the tournament. But then, like you said, when the intensity picks up, when the physicality picks up, like when Oregon picked up their physicality and their intensity and extended their defense a little bit the other night, around where the score was maybe 66 to 72 or in the 60s and 70s, once it got to that point in the game, they turned up their intensity to try to get back in the game, and you saw those turnovers rear their ugly heads again. So it was one of those things where all of these teams, because of the parity in the league, all of these teams have things that can bring them back down to the pack, right? Purdue lacks a bit of explosiveness on the perimeter, right? That I think holds them back a little bit, right? Outside of Braden Smith, their other guards are good players, but they're not explosive players, right? Then you get to Michigan State, they don't have the outside shooting, and they can go through scoring droughts at times like they've been accustomed to for years now, right? They seem like they haven't been able to figure out how to get enough guys on the perimeter to shoot the ball at a high clip from three, right? And then you get to Maryland and something, they have flaws. All these teams have flaws that can bring them back down to earth. And like I said, that's why you see so many close games, right? I think, like I said, I think a lot of these games are going to be 1 or 2 possession games going into the final timeout or the 3-minute mark of the game. So it's all going to be who can suppress their weaknesses, right? Who can overcome their weaknesses. Okay, Michigan had a few games where we took care of the ball very well, less than 10 turnovers. We defended well. We maybe didn't shoot the ball as well, but because you don't turn it over and you don't give a lot of runouts or easy baskets, it's still a game that you can win, right? Even if you don't play particularly well. I think Dusty said it himself, right? We've been winning, but we haven't been playing particularly well. And I watching the film, I agree with that. It's Michigan, and I think that's having guys who've played a lot of basketball. You have guys who've been in college too. You have veterans. So you play against a team like Rutgers, you're able to pull that game out because you have more veteran basketball players than the other team. So I actually like it, right? It's a little bit closer to what you see at the pro level or at the European level, where it's so much parity. Every night, guys are going to have to execute to get out of there.
Do you think pace against Purdue can be a factor? Do you think pace, if Michigan can make them play fast, could be of benefit? I'm thinking of their guards. I went into that game feeling like Michigan had an advantage in their backcourt, not an overwhelming one. But I just always feel like those guys are at an athletic deficit,
right?
In matchups. Not to say that Michigan is uber athletic in the backcourt, but against them, I feel like Michigan at least a little bit, and it didn't play out in that game.
As
Clearly.
far as length of athleticism, you're right.
But I didn't feel like it was a factor in that game.
No, because IQ, smarts, and skill level can make up for that, right? And Braden Smith has all of those in spades, right? And Lawyer, he's a very heady basketball player and a skilled basketball player as well. So that their skill level and their IQ and their all the basketball they've played over the last 2-3 years can make up for some of that lack of athleticism that they have compared to Michigan guards, right? But to answer your question with a guy like Braden Smith, I don't know how much you can speed him up because he's the faster, quicker player of the 4 guards that you might have on the floor at any time. And he's a great decision maker. So I don't know how much you can speed him up, but you can wear him down, right? So putting letting them see different bodies, letting them see different types of defenders, right? You might have Trey Donaldson on him for a few minutes, then switch to Jones on him, then put Roddy Gayle on him. That's a guy he has to see different bodies and different coverages to wear him down mentally and physically by the time you get to maybe the 6-7 minute mark of a basketball game. You're not going to be able to speed him up per se.
And then, man, I was a bit disturbed by how Trey Kaufman-Renn just seemed to kind of bully him a little bit. I mean, he played right through dude's chest in that game.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't really see him as that type of dude.
Yeah, son, you gotta check out the little pregame show we be doing, man. We'd have laid it out for you. Kaufman-Renn, as far as he's a lot like Vlad in the way as far as rolling to the basket and catching the ball on the short roll and finishing from blind angles and going through guys' chests. He's just not as big as Vlad, right? So they kind of use him in similar ways. And with his skill level and his ability to finish with either hand, he doesn't jump over a stack of phone books, right? He's not a very athletic player. But with his wide shoulders and his body, the way Purdue uses him, man, you get him down in that, get him in the hole, as we call it, and he's able to pinball and, like you said, go through guys' chests. He's going to be hard to stop.
Well, that's why, a dude like that, make him play some defense. Make him, hit him in his chest then. Make him feel it. Make him feel it on the other end and sap some of that strength, sap some of that energy. And maybe he's not as powerful. Maybe he is not as invigorated. Yeah. Maybe he didn't have as much, maybe he didn't have as much oomph. Because, man, he played. One of them times he came down and it was like he went through, I think it was Vlad. He went through Vlad like he wasn't even there. Yeah. I'm like, man, am I in the Twilight Zone? Like it.
It's one of those things, Sam. I think with Michigan, they've like going just from a game to game thing. If the games that they're prepared to match the other team's physicality and intensity, they do well, right? When Vlad comes out, when Danny's not on the perimeter dancing with the ball and he's in the mid post banging guys, making decisions, or he's setting screens and popping and catching and shooting threes or attacking closeouts. If you notice, they've kind of limited a lot of the stuff that they were doing early as far as pace and some of the concepts they were running to simplify the game a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. When you got a 7-footer as talented and skilled as he is, you don't have to do all the dancing, right? Let me get to my spot. Let me get to the mid post, and I can either go finish or I can use my passing ability and playmaking ability to find somebody. And if you notice the last couple of games, Danny's been in the mid post a lot more, and he's been the screener a lot more, right? One thing in basketball that I was taught from especially being a guy that can score. If you want to score, be a good screener, especially as a 7-footer. And if you pay attention moving forward, the more he's the screener, the more he'll be open. So I think they've made some pretty good adjustments.
Yeah, I think one of them times I saw he screened, they fell off him. He flared out and got a 3 off of that.
Yes,
one of those times.
Those are the situations he needs to be in more, because now, Sam, if the guy's late, he can show it and put the ball on the floor and does what he do off the dribble to put guys at a disadvantage, put the other team at a disadvantage.
So, it's interesting discussion. So you move from Purdue to Michigan State, because we're looking at the top of the Big Ten and kind of assessing Michigan's chances versus the top of the Big Ten. So Michigan State, again, I'm Purdue to me is the team that I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure it out. Michigan State, I see it. Like they're gonna be physical with you.
Yep.
Keeping them off the glass is the thing that concerns me the most.
Keeping them out of transition,
which is, to me, it's like looking in the mirror. Because they're gonna run on making misses just like Michigan. So they doing what you're doing. You ought to be prepared for that.
And that's where the turnovers can come in, right? Because because both teams want to play fast, is going to be an up and down game for the most part. That's where if Michigan can take care of the ball against Michigan, that'll be a game more about turnovers than anything else. If Michigan takes care of the ball, they'll get whatever shot they want. But if they turn it over and they don't match the physicality, Michigan State is going to do what they do to everybody else.
Yeah, those dudes, their inability to shoot, provided Michigan shoots it at a good clip in that game, will make sure that it is a game for Michigan, provided that they keep them off the glass.
Yeah.
And you keep them off the glass. Because you have some games where it's like, man, what the hell is going on? Because Michigan, like there's been some games this season where I look around like Michigan's a really good rebounding team. And then I see a game like Penn State, and I'm like, are they really a good rebounding team? Because I'm like, I couldn't explain the Penn State game.
So with Penn State, they had 4, sometimes 5 guys on the perimeter, right? So when the shot goes up for those bigger guys, they're not used to blocking out a guy running from outside the 3-point line. That's a much tougher blockout, especially when the guy really wants to get there. That's a much tougher blockout than, okay, we both stand in the paint and I could just, find you, hit you, turn around and square up and go get the ball, right? It's a much different proposition than I have this 6'7", 6'8" long athletic guy. The shot goes up. Now he's sprinting to the rim, and I got to try to find him and get a piece of him to go get the ball. So I think depending on the matchups, like got teams that have got bigs that play more traditional style bigs, or maybe if they have one guy that's a traditional big, that like Oregon or some of these other teams with Biddle and a couple other guys we played against, Michigan's able to dominate the paint and dominate the boards, right? They struggle on the offensive glass when teams have those guys spread out on the perimeter, 4 or 5 guys on the perimeter. Now when the shot goes up, they're crashing, right? Those rebounds are a little bit different. So I think that's where that's one of the weaknesses they can have, depending on them. That's a matchup specific weakness. I don't think that's a weakness you're going to see from Michigan every night.
Yeah, and we have it. And the reason, the singular reason they've exceeded at least my expectations as a rebounding team, because remember, we started out the year like, man,
can they rebound out of the area? Yep.
Yeah, we questioned, like, the singular reason they've exceeded my personal expectations as a rebounding team is Danny Wolf.
Yes.
Man, the dude gets it done on the glass.
And it's a bit shocking because, like, not that Danny does get it done, but it's in comparison to what Vlad averaging on like 6.5 rebounds per game. That's a bit shocking for me, given his size and how much he's in the paint already. But Danny does a great job making himself available to the glass, right? A lot of those shots that Michigan bigs get, to be honest, are uncontested because teams are so worried about them sprinting out in transition. But like, as far as him getting on the offensive glass at times and then him getting crucial rebounds late in the game, he's been very good at that.
Yeah.
And if he can continue to do that, that's set him up for some strong finishes.
Yeah, I think Vlad's an okay rebounder. Danny is really good. Like and what I appreciate about him is the games where he hasn't been able to throw it in the ocean.
Right.
4 points. 0 for 7. Like he won a game, he didn't have a field goal, but he had 13 rebounds. Like it didn't affect the other parts of the Penn State game. He can't throw it in the ocean, but he got a couple big blocks and he has double-digit rebounds. Like it didn't affect the other parts of his game. That says a lot to me because all the hype, all the big time comparisons, all the talk about, he's going to be a first round pick, not from Daniel Horton, but all the talk about first round pick, right? It'd be very easy to let that invade your mind. And And when you're not living up to that, you get preoccupied with it. But he didn't let that, invade his mind. He's like, hey, there's other things I can do to affect this team. And he still did those things.
Hey, as much as I want us to get all the views and the clicks and the likes and the ratings, those guys shouldn't be watching shows like this. They shouldn't be reading the newspaper. I don't know how many guys on the team. It's only a handful of people Danny should be listening to, and that's the coaching staff and his teammates. So he shouldn't. Like I told I was talking to Chris Hunter the other day. I was like, man, I miss the days when athletes, whether they were lying or not, they told me that, I don't read the paper, or I don't read press clippings, or I don't watch the news. I miss those days because having been a coach in this era, it does affect guys. Guys do on social media because it's a lot more prevalent. They see everything. And it gets in their psyche, and it shouldn't, right? Because he's a really good player. You shouldn't be worried about anything anybody else says. But to your point, the fact that he's been able to battle through some tough moments and excel in the physical parts of the game makes me a lot more excited about his future than seeing him go between his legs and behind his back, right? So that's just how I look at the game.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, all right, moving on. When you get back into the standings, so we've covered Purdue, we've covered Michigan State, and again, we're comparing Michigan to the other teams at the top of the standings in the Big Ten and sort of assessing Michigan's chances, how Michigan stacks up to the other teams at the top of the Big Ten standings, as they are at the kind of halfway point. We're a little past the halfway point. The UCLA Bruins. So we talked about Michigan State going 0 for Cali, right? Michigan State lost to USC. They lost to UCLA. The UCLA Bruins are next in the pecking order after 10-2 Purdue and 9-2 Michigan and Michigan State. It's the UCLA Bruins. They had a 4-game losing streak that Michigan was a part of dishing out to them. And since then, they lost to Michigan. After that was when they went out to Maryland, because you remember he said, my whole team is soft and I'm the only one doing anything. Mick Cronin. Then they went to Maryland and they lost. He said, okay, now it's the refs' fault, right? He's blaming everybody for their problems. Right? And it's like, man, Mick is losing the team. And then after that, they went and got their heads cracked by Rutgers. It's a 4-game losing streak. And since then, Daniel, they won 6 straight. And they're back in the mix in the Big Ten. So, I mean, maybe Mick knows what he's doing.
Hey, Sam, I know we as spectators, we like to, have our opinions and formulate our thoughts and, judgments on, but that dude is one enough. He's probably forgotten more basketball than most of us know. So, like, when a guy like Mick Cronin says something, or a couple other guys out here in the coaching industry say stuff, people, they listen and they take note. Like, he's always been a guy that's been about toughness, been about discipline. Like, if he gets talent on top of that, he's had more toughness and discipline in his programs than actual talent, right? That's why when he finally got some at UCLA, they made a Final Four run. And I'm pretty sure he's going to continue to do well at UCLA, just not against Michigan. So he's a guy that recruited me when I was in high school, and he was in a different program. So I'm pretty familiar with Mick Cronin and the Rick Pitino coaching tree.
I'll give him this. I'll give him. He knows what makes his team tick. I can't say that I agree with the accountability, with the way that he serves up accountability. I still can't say that I agree with that, but for how he pushes the buttons with his team and how they respond to him, he knows that. He clearly knows that better than anybody. So,
hey, Sam, you got guys making, I don't know what those coaches making at UCLA, but I'm pretty sure they're getting paid handsomely out there in that 75 and sunny weather. They probably need a little motivation at times too.
Yeah. My man stepped out there and said, hey, I'm the only one doing anything right now.
Hey, they might need a little motivation too out there. In LA, it's probably hard to stay focused.
My man said, "Hey, I got 500 wins. Y'all don't yet, and I got 500 wins. Y'all don't have nothing.
Exactly.
Y'all don't. All
But
right.
no, man, they're playing good basketball right now. If they can keep it up with the travel schedule and the things he's complaining, if they maintain the level of toughness they'll be playing, there'll be a tough outcome tournament time.
All right. So they're in the thick. I know you weren't really impressed with Wisconsin after Michigan went in the Kohl Center and got it done on them, but there is Wisconsin still hovering, won their last couple, sitting.
I gotta look at their conference schedule. Who have they beat the last couple games, Sam?
So Wisconsin just beat the team that Michigan's about to play. They just
Indiana,
and then they won at Northwestern.
Okay, so I'm not worried about Wisconsin. Their team, like they're always going to be a tough out because they're going to be disciplined. They're going to run their stuff. They're going to be really solid on defense. Nothing spectacular. But this team doesn't have the athletic ability. They have even less athletic ability than Wisconsin normally has. Mm-hmm. And they don't shoot the ball as well as they normally do. And their best player, Tanjay, like I watched Danny Wolf lock this guy up, and he's supposed to be a 20-point per game, 20-point per night. And that's not saying to knock to Danny. That's a great job by Danny. But if you're a 20-point per game in a player in the Big Ten, no one player should be able to do what Danny did to him. And Danny basically just gave him space because he knew he couldn't beat him off the dribble and challenge his jump shot. So that was it felt like that was an easy cover defensively for Michigan for me to not be worried about them. Not only did they couldn't stop anything we did offensively, but they were easy cover as well. So I don't put too much stock into them be making a play for the Big Ten championship or beating Michigan again if we play them.
Mm-hmm. All right, and so then you have Maryland, and Maryland is on a roll right now. They won 4 straight. In that 4, Daniel, they won at Illinois big. They beat Illinois by 21 points. They beat Wisconsin, the team that you just said you're not really impressed with them. And they're at Ohio State right now, up by double digits. But they're up on Ohio State right now, which if they hold on, that'll be 5 straight. Yeah. So what do you make of the Terrapins?
I like what I saw from the Terrapins earlier. I think I saw the game against Marquette. I think they ended up losing that game, but they played the intensity they played with, the versatility in what they do offensively. With Big Reese and Derek Queens, those 2 guys, man, at the 4 and the 5 positions. I knew they would give people problems, and then they have good guard. They have decent to good guard play. So with those 2, with those combinations, man, I think they have a chance to finish the season strong. I think I think we played them once. Where's that game at Maryland?
It's here.
It's here. Yeah, that's gonna be a dogfight.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a dogfight.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, they're playing really well, and Mike Beebe in the chat says Maryland is killing Ohio State right now. It's 31-17.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Reese and Queen versus Golden and Wolf matchup. That the front court's matching up. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah, up to number 18, at least in time of this episode. They're up to number 18 in the rankings, playing some good basketball. The Terps are. So yeah, and like that game that they won at Illinois was eye-opening because they put it on. They put it on the Illini in their house. And that brings us to the Illini. And I can't make Illinois out.
You and me both.
I don't understand them, how they play.
I don't either.
Like
I've watched them a number of times, Sam. And sometimes you're watching players like, man, these guys look pretty good. Then you watch them play another, like 3 nights later, it's like, who are these guys? These are guys I just watched play 3-4 nights ago. And so they're kind of like, they're even like from the Jekyll and Hyde we see with Michigan as far as turnovers and the the extremes between quality of play. Like we've seen Michigan have, like I said, look like a top 5 team in the country to not being able to get the ball across half court. You've seen those same extremes from Illinois, right? And it's one of those things where Illinois, I don't think they have the guard play that they normally have, and their bigs aren't quite as good as they normally are either. I have a couple guys that I like, but I don't see enough from Illinois. I think that's going to be a nightly, night to night, depending on which Illinois team shows up, depending on, how that game is going to go against us.
Well, hey, man, I guess when I say I don't understand how they play, that game that they lost to Maryland, the dudes shot like 20% from 3. like I don't. Why are we shooting a bunch of 3s if we shooting 20%? Why are we shooting a bunch of 3s if we shooting 20%? And so you see how I just repeated that? You see why I said it twice? You know why I said it twice?
Why is that?
Because they just lost to Rutgers and they shot 20% from 3, Daniel. They did it again and they shot a bunch of 3s. It's like, well,
yeah, I watched that game. That was rough.
It's like, what are we doing? What are y'all doing? And so it's staggering that the stat against Maryland was 6 for 28 from 3, 21.4%. The stat against Rutgers, I will bring it up to you, and I will pull it up just to make sure I got this right. Against Rutgers, 6 for 28 from 3, 21.4%. You would think they would say, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't jack so many 3s. Right? These dudes shoot a lot of 3s, Daniel. And
it's 2024. That's the game. 2025. I'm sorry. That's the game.
Sometimes they go in, man, but a whole lot of times they don't, and they just keep jacking them anyway.
Yeah, at some point they're going to have to make a transition, right? Like I always reference Michigan because Michigan wanted to play fast, and they saw that we're averaging a bunch, so they've kind of slowed it down and simplified things a bit. And well, I don't know when it comes to shooting the 3 though, Sam. I don't know if there's like that. That's one of those things that like this is our. If a team shoots that many of them, this is our philosophy. And I don't know if you want to necessarily stop that, and maybe I don't know. Like I coach my teams to shoot a lot of 3s as well, so it's not one of those things where like you want to just we're gonna completely switch our focus, right? They probably have some sort of mantra like most teams have where they want to live in the paint, they want to shoot 3s and shoot free throws. So we say key 3 or free, right? That's how we teach it to our guys. So obviously they emphasizing the 3 a lot in their key 3 and free. So we'll see.
Yeah, so you know what this is? But this is clearly they have some analytics guys that have bought into the analytics so much that 3 is worth more than 2, which we understand. But the idea is that if that's gonna be your philosophy, like you recruit 3-point shooters.
Yeah, but so you gotta have guys that can shoot.
Don't just say 3 is worth more than 2, so we shoot a lot of 3s. You get guys who are going to be able to make a good percentage of those 3s, right? That's the idea. You don't just go get guys and just say, okay, just shoot 3s because they are worth more. That doesn't make sense, man.
Hey, we're gonna chip paint off the rim tonight, guys.
But that seems to be their philosophy, man. So okay. I don't think that wins the Big Ten championship. Like they're the squad of the teams that we're talking about. At the top of the Big Ten. Illinois is the squad that I'm telling you right now, they're not winning the Big Ten.
No, I agree with that. They're not winning it. Who else is up there?
Can you bring them back up, Ben?
Purdue, Sparty, us, Maryland. I think anybody outside of that 4 doesn't have a real shot at winning it. I might be missing somebody. I don't have it in front of me, but I know those 4 teams are the teams I think have the best shot of winning it right now.
Yeah, so the cutoff is obviously Illinois at 7-6. You'd have to have, they're the only ones to me legit striking distance 3.5 games back. Yeah, they're not winning it.
You know, this year, I know they're kind of middle of the pack this year, but watch out for USC moving forward. Not this year. Like, they're playing better ball now. And I thought that was a game. I thought that game would be a lot closer when we played out there. I thought they would, with their ability to play off the bounce, I thought it would give us trouble. But moving forward, they just picked up Elijah Arenas, Gilbert Arenas' son, who's one of the best high school players in the country, to go with their style of play. They have a really good coach. I think they'll be. You have to watch out from not this year, but moving forward next year. I think they'll give people problems.
Yeah. So just a couple quick notes, because I wanna plug your film study. Tell people about your film study. We'll put the link in the description. We'll also link it over on the MichiganInsider.com. You'll always be able to find the link to the film study that Daniel and Chris Hunter do on a weekly basis. They also do previews with film. So you'll be able to see these guys break down games with film, which is different. So that takes it to another level when you actually see them talking about the game with film, which is on a different level. So two guys that I want you to kind of give your takes on, a couple of takes on really quick. One is Roddy. You know, I thought that Roddy's contribution in the Rutgers game cannot be highlighted enough.
For sure.
For the defensive presence that he was, but sort of juxtapose that with what we saw last night against Oregon, and it was like, man, I mean, it felt like he was struggling a bit out there. I don't know what happened between games, but it just I don't know if Oregon was just bothering him or what. Now, I know we were talking about two different kinds of contributions. You're talking about what he was on the defensive end of the floor. I didn't even care about what he was doing offensively because he was so valuable defensively. But in the Oregon game, I was focused more on the offense because of the turnovers.
Yeah.
That were like, man, it was the travels, and it just seemed like, man, what's going on? I'm curious what you make of Roddy and how you, because it feels like they're going to need
for sure
some more from him offensively here as you get into this stretch run.
Yeah, so going back to the Rutgers game, I thought he did a really good job of guarding Ace Bailey, right? I think we did it, like I said, we did a preview, and in our preview, we emphasized that Ace Bailey was a guy that you had to get into and guard physically because of his skill level to play out of the triple threat, right? If you let him just catch the ball and play out of the triple threat and do all the 1, 2, 3 dribble combination moves that he obviously works on, he'll get 30 on you, right? And Roddy did a great job of getting into him and making him put the ball on the floor uncomfortably. And he did a great job of that, on top of Michigan having heavy help in the gap. So he wasn't getting double teamed, but I would imagine, I've been guarded like that before. It almost feels like you're being double teamed because you got the guy that's pressure you, and you have a guy in one gap when you look to your right and a guy in another gap when you look to your left. So he did a great job following the game plan and guarding a younger guy, a freshman, extremely like physical and legally physical in a way that bothered him, right? And then moving into the Oregon game, it's a different challenge, right? You're not going to be able to be as physical guarding a guy like Bamba, TJ Bamba. So I thought his approach defensively, he did a good job. He gave effort, but offensively, man, if he doesn't take some of the arc off of his shots, he's not going to be consistent, right? I think if you watch our breakdowns, we talk about on there, Sam, when he shoots the ball is above the shot clock at times, or right at the top of the shot clock, which is 6 or 7 inches above the backboard, right? That ball has like frost and moon particles on it when it comes down. Like that's way too high of an arc to be consistent. So I think he has to get back in the gym and really lock on his ball handling and skill work and shooting outside of practice, putting it, because that's the only way I know how to fix things of that nature, right? You want to get better as a shooter, get reps up. You want to get better as a ball handler, work on your ball handling in practice and really focus on making better decisions in the games, right? Those are all things that I think he can I don't want to say completely fix, but he can make better during this, before they get to the Big Ten tournament and improve his contribution to the team. But as far as physicality, running the floor, being aggressive, we call it the 3 A's, being active, athletic, and aggressive. He's been doing all three of those. He just has to add a little bit more IQ to it.
Yeah, and then I posed this question, and Tim, I want to pose it to you as a basketball guy, basketball player, basketball coach. Seems like teams are inviting Danny to put the ball on the deck.
Yes.
That they, there's a strategy here that they must be thinking a couple of things. That, man, we think that this dude is going to dribble into some trouble, that he's going to over dribble, or he's not going to finish through contact at an efficient clip, or we can foul him. He's not going to make free throws. So he's 57, 58% free throw shooter. A play that sticks out to me was actually a play he converted. So it's not the best example, but it's an example of what I'm talking about. Teams inviting him. It was Ace Bailey in the Rutgers game. You remember Ace was like 2 feet off the dude and was like, drive. He was like, now Ace athletic enough to still, recover and contest his jumper. But you could see he was like, shoot. He was like, shoot. Because it's like, come on, man. Now, Danny made a good decision because you're not going to help. You're not going to help. He drove to the rim and actually got an and one off of it. But my point is, you can see teams thinking it's actually better if he puts it on the deck. Now, I guess early in the season, I was thinking, I like it. Danny putting it on the deck and driving to the rim. And I still think that his ability to do it is a positive. But I wonder, the more you watch him, is there a coaching point? Is there a happy medium in his attack plan where he could be more efficient in how he does it? Tim's point was, I want him to attack more in the mid-range. Me, I've been saying to you is maybe he should shoot more threes, which he has. He has been.
Yeah, he's been making them.
He's been making them too. But Tim's like, I don't agree with that he should be doing even more. He was like, I want him to attack more in the mid-range. As you watched him and broke him down more, what's the key to more efficiency? Because as good as he was in the game, he was still 5 for 14 from the field, right? Yeah. So, what's the key to more efficiency? As teams are like, yeah, put it on the deck, man. Who can do that? So how do you make him more efficient?
I think you're seeing the evolution of him to becoming more efficient, right? You haven't seen as much 4-5 pick and roll. You haven't seen as much of him handling the ball high out on the floor. You haven't seen him receiving the outlet as much as well either, right? And I think all of those are to try to limit his turnovers. And because like let's face it, like if you have a 7-footer, no matter how good he can move or handle the ball, it's always with the caveat for a 7-footer, right? So now you put a 6'7", 6'8" guy on him, like a 6'9". Like I remember against some of these guys, they just reached in and reached down and took the ball from him, right? Or made his handle a lot sloppy and made him a lot more uncomfortable. Those are the situations I envision him in. I don't envision too many teams putting another 7-footer on him because he can handle the ball. But if you put a guy that can get up under him and pressure him, that 7-footers aren't used to that, right? Just like they're not used to playing against him, beating him off the dribble. Most 7-footers aren't used to a guy getting up under them and pressuring them while they're dribbling either. So I think that's why I always envision him getting in trouble, and that's come to fruition, right? But as far as making him more efficient, like I've been preaching for weeks now, right? Make him the screener and put him in the mid post. So both of you guys are right. You and Tim are right, Sam. Play more mid-range, but not shooting mid-range, but posting up in the mid post so I can still use my ball handling and footwork and still get to shots, whether it's a turnaround jump shot. I think, against Oregon, he got in the mid post and went middle and went up and under and finished with his left hand on the other side of the rim. Another time he went mid-post and kicked it to a shooter on the opposite wing. Those are the places where he's going to be really good at, right? Mid-post, and okay, now I'm setting the ball screen and I'm picking and popping. Now I get to attack closeouts. I either get to attack my man that helped on the screen, closing out back to me, or they have to rotate with another guy that closes out to me, which puts their defense in rotation. And now I have angles of drive and find my teammates and get to the rim. That's how I think that's how you make it more efficient, right? I think the more you have him in ball handlers where he's navigating pick and rolls or he's out on the floor initiating offense, that leads them being less efficient. So I think if they can kind of bottle up some of the things they've been doing the last couple games, he'll continue. It's an adjustment for him, but once he gets more comfortable doing it, you'll see those 5 for 15 games go to being 7 for 13, 8 for 12, and then you'll see a much better player.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Great stuff, and a big key to helping Michigan ascend to the top of this list that we just broke down, the top of the Big Ten. Can Michigan be the team that finishes at the top of that heap? They certainly can, but they gotta go take care of business down in Bloomington, and then it's a chance for some revenge.
Yes,
Tuesday night. We'll see. All right, before we talk about NBA trade deadline winners and losers, it was a fun. They said, what was it? 10% of the NBA? Was it 10% of the NBA got traded?
Man.
Might have been more than that. Might have been 15% of the NBA got traded. It was a whole lot of the NBA got traded.
Before a whole lot of kids switching schools in the middle of the school year.
Yeah, man. Want to let those of you who have ground transportation needs know there is one company that will make sure that you get to where you need to get to on time, every time, anywhere in Southeast Michigan, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. And they support Michigan NIL too. That's Golden Limo. Ben, would you drop that track?
Drop that track.
If you have ground transportation needs, get to your destination on time, every time with Golden Limo. Ride like the Wolverines. Feel like a Wolverine when you ride with Golden Limo, the proud transportation partner for many of Michigan's sports teams and the primary transportation provider for Michigan Wolverines football. All you have to do to book your golden ticket reservation is go to goldenlimo.com/golden ticket or call their team at 734-668-8282 and mention Golden Ticket to book your transportation reservations today.
You talking about the Michigan football team rides on Golden. I know they have several players who have NIL deals, so they support Michigan NIL. I know you've had, I know the Michigan basketball team, I don't know if they still do, but several of the Michigan athletic teams do. Michigan Medicine rides on Golden across the athletic department and across the Michigan campus. You see the Golden Limo buses, but it doesn't just mean group transport on the large bus scale, even the smaller scale, the sprinters, the party buses, and then, of course, the executive transport, whether it's the navigators and the aviators. You need to go to the airport or across town or across campus. Golden Limo has you covered, and not just in Southeast Michigan. So whether you're in Chicago or Dallas or Atlanta or LA, through their transportation partners, you can ride on Golden too. All you got to do is go to goldenlimo.com and make sure you mention the Golden Ticket or goldenlimo.com/golden ticket, and you can ride on Golden Limo as well. All right. Now, folks, it is time to talk about the NBA trade deadline. And a flurry of trades today even. But we got to start out first by at least talking about the biggest loser in my eyes, the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, absolutely. You can't. I guess we're gonna have to debate this. They are the biggest loser, Bob. This is, to me, the worst trade in NBA history that I've seen. I wasn't around to see trades before I was born, but the worst trade I have seen. You have taken a top 3 player in my eyes.
You traded for a top 7 player?
And traded him for a guy who does not fit your team in nearly the same, the composition of your team in nearly the same way. Is not going to bring you comparable value. Is 6 years older. 6 years older.
That's the only valid point right there.
No, it's not. Daniel, look at the composition of the Dallas Mavericks. You have 3-point shooters and lob threats. That is the composition of the team around Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Really, that was the team that was put around Luka. And then Kyrie came in and it fits around Kyrie too. But now it happens to be Kyrie as the creator for all those other guys. And you brought in AD.
An anchor.
You brought in AD as another guy who you need to feed. And I guess Max Christie is supposed to be the other guy that is supposed to feed all of these mouths that you need to feed.
Spencer Dinwiddie. We're not worried about Max Christie. Max Christie is almost a throw-in. Hopefully he turns into a good player as the years go by. So I'll let you finish it now.
So you have taken a guy who at 21 years old took you to the Western Conference Finals. At 25 years old, had you in the NBA Finals. You talk about he drinks beer, he smokes hookah, he eats pizza, and he's done all of that. If you're worried about his discipline, go get him somebody that's going to help him get some discipline. You don't throw out a 25-year-old dude who has already shown you that he can get you to the mountaintop. He just can't get you over it at 25 years old. You just need to get him. You need to get him some influence that can get him the habits that get you over the top. You don't go get a guy who up until the last 18 months couldn't stay on the court. All the things that you criticize about Luka not being on the court, you had these issues with the guy you just traded for. Like, come on, man. What are we doing? You don't trade a 25. You don't get rid of a 25.
Do you have
player?
No, Sam. I can't listen to this, man. I can't because it's not based in basketball reality. It's based in fandom that a lot of people. Because let me explain like this. Luka is a cone, Sam. They have a 5-minute, 4-minute reel on YouTube. Hey Ben, see if you can find that reel of just the Western Conference playoffs and the NBA Finals from last year of the Mavericks defense getting completely obliterated just because this guy refuses to play defense.
Okay.
You're never going to win a championship with. I don't care who you put around him. You're never going to win a championship with this guy. And I'm a Laker fan, by the way, right? So from the Lakers standpoint, I understand why you do the deal. Like LeBron has another year or two after LeBron, you got your star that's going to put butts in the seats for the next 10 years. But if you're trying to win a championship right now, I would much rather have AD in that lineup. So you got Clay, PJ Washington, AD, and Derek Lively as your starting 5. That puts you in contention.
They were in contention. That's
that puts you in that puts you in that gives it.
Dallas was already in contention.
No, that was last year. They were not going to make the Western.
Dallas won't make the finals.
They won't make the. They wouldn't. If they would have kept Luka this year, they wouldn't make the final. They wouldn't have made the Western Conference Finals this year.
Dude, that Luka was hurt this year.
Yeah.
They went beyond the Western Conference Finals last year, and they weren't supposed to do that. Remember, they weren't supposed to beat. They weren't supposed to beat Minnesota last year,
right?
And they did that, right? So
because their stars were a little bit more experienced than the best player in the gym, the best player in the gym.
AD and that defense, they couldn't. That defense wasn't working
You mean
well enough.
Gobert, Big Rudy.
Here, what I'm telling you is as good, and I'm not saying AD is not a really good player, a really, really, really good player who is not good enough to get them to the level that Luka had gotten them to.
Only one of those guys in this conversation has won a championship.
Oh, and they won. And who did they win it because of?
He had what was AD's numbers in the finals?
Who did they win it because of?
Hey, Ben, put up AD's numbers in the finals.
Who did they win it because of?
Because of AD and LeBron, not just one or the other, because they had both.
Who did they win it because of? Who was more responsible?
Matter of fact, didn't AD hit a game winner that series?
Who was more responsible for the championship, AD or LeBron? Come on, man.
They both were. That's not for a guy to average 25 and 12 and say somebody else was more responsible. That's
I'm giving that. Yeah, I'm saying LeBron was more responsible.
Come on, man. But like I said, only one of those guys has won a championship. Only one of those guys is a big time two-way player, right? Only one of those guys, even though he's a few years early, has been consistently able to dominate games on both ends. Luka is a great offensive player, but he is a cone on defense. And you're not going to it's Ben, please pull up that video find that clip of Luka. They just dribbling around Luka, him just like, if you're a coach, Sam, and I understand where Jason Kidd is coming from. If you're a coach and you're watching film trying to figure out how can we get better defensively, because that's the only way we're going to win a championship, we get better defensively. And my best player refuses, and not only, hold on, that's just from basketball. He refuses to play defense. He refuses to give multiple efforts, right? But then, like you said before, he drinks beer, he smokes hookah, he's in the Dallas nightlife. Like, how can you win the championship with him?
Listen to me. I'm not denying that the dude has immature tendencies. And I would even argue that his lack of effort on defense is attached to that immaturity.
Mm-hmm.
That he's on the court playing lax defense to conserve energy for what he wants to do. I think it has less to do with disinterest and more to do with, hey man, I got to conserve some energy. I get tired, so I got to conserve some energy for the offense. What I got to do on offense. I think it has more to do with that, quite frankly.
Then they don't get no calls because he always arguing with the refs.
And so if I'm really interested in maximizing what I'm gonna get from this guy, my deal is I'm gonna go get a veteran influence, and that's not Kyrie. And then let me give Kyrie credit. He has been so much better than the perception of him. Yeah, you know, I went to watch the Pistons play the Mavs last year, and Kyrie Irving was out on the floor with the fans 15 minutes after the game was over. Yeah. I mean, signing autographs, signing shirts, like that, the perception. And this was on the road. This what we weren't in Dallas.
No, I'm just saying, just in the community.
Dallas, I mean, so what people say about Kyrie, like the perception of him. And how he has been conducting himself is so different. So let me be clear in what I'm saying. I'm not being critical of him in the way that the media is typically being critical of Kyrie. What I'm saying is, if you want someone to shape Luka in the way of a champion, then
he's playing with him now. You can't go trade for LeBron if you're the Mavericks. He's playing with the only guy now.
Necessarily be it don't necessarily have to be him.
He's the only guy in the league that can give. You know
what I would have done? I would have said, hey, Golden State. Hey, I know Steph loves his boy, but I'm gonna make what we gotta do. What we got to do. I know y'all tired of Day-Day.
That's an even worse trade.
I know y'all tired of Day-Day. What we got to do to get your man?
What we got to do
to get your man over here.
That's even
Because
worse.
I gotta teach my guy some championship habits. I gotta teach my guy what we gotta do to be a winner. I do that before I go training. Are you kidding me?
Nah,
A
but you got
25-year-old superstar.
Yeah, but just because he's a 25-year-old superstar don't mean he'll be
ruining my monetization, Ben.
Look at that.
Ben ruining my monetization.
He's a cone.
I didn't say you're showing me something that we already know. It's already established you don't play defense. We already get that. This is not news.
But Sam, that's what it comes down to. If you cannot win, you cannot win with guys giving that. I don't care how many points unless he's scoring 70.
So here's
you can't.
But Luka led a team. What team has AD led anywhere? See, Luka can lead a team to the finals.
Hey, you put the right guys around AD. AD is hey man, he's an MVP candidate and a defensive player of the year candidate for a reason. Like I wasn't even prepared. I wasn't even prepared to having to justify why someone would want Anthony Davis. That's crazy. Like a national champion in college, been one of the top 5 to 7 players in the league since he's been in the league. I didn't know I had to justify AD.
Player. I'm not saying AD is not an outstanding player. I'm saying he is not a player the caliber of Luka Doncic. He is not.
In what way if they're both top 7 players in the league?
I just told you. When AD was with New Orleans, where did he lead New Orleans?
They lost in the second round to Steph Curry, a 73-win Steph Curry team.
So not to the NBA Finals, right?
But he lost to the 73-win Steph Curry team.
Not,
then he got
right? Not to the NBA Finals.
But tell me who else was on that New Orleans team to make it to the second round of the playoffs?
Not to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, but he's a big man.
You saw Luka.
But he can't dribble the ball up the court and pass it to himself. That's one thing about bigs. They're always guard dependent. Now he has a room full of big time guards. You put him with a big time guard forward in LeBron James, he won a championship. Now you put him with a younger group that has more pieces than the Lakers had. Come on, Sam. I don't understand how you don't see this.
I don't understand why Luka doesn't get any credit for what they did last year.
Well, he does, but he's a cone.
Or what he did at 21, leading the team to the Western Conference Finals.
He absolutely gets credit for that. But what we're saying is, as basketball people, I don't want to say he's maxed out, but he's close to maxed out already. He's been playing basketball at a high level. He was a starting point guard for Real Madrid at 15, 16 years old. So this guy, like what you see from Luka, it's not about is he going to get better. I don't think he's going to get too much better than what he is now. It's about can he sustain it for another 10 years? And if you're the Mavericks and I'm looking at his habits, I'm looking at the way he handles himself, I'm looking at his lack of ability to give effort on multiple efforts on defense, he can't sustain that for another 10 years unless he gets traded. I'm just not saying they traded him so he can sustain his career, but the benefit of Luka getting traded to the Lakers is that he gets with a guy that's been the best ever at taking care of his body.
Yeah, the Mavericks will never recover from this.
Okay, we'll see.
They'll never recover from this.
That's one thing. That's the beauty of this. They still got to go out there and play. That's
they do. They'll never recover from this. This is the worst trade that I've ever seen in the NBA.
You see that, Sam?
Yeah. To put it in perspective,
what was Luka's stats in the finals last year? So if they're comparable and one is going to play defense and the other one's not, I don't think it's that hard of a decision. I want the guy. If one guy's gonna give me 30 and 10 and 6,
and one played with maybe the second or third best player of all time. Come on, man.
Say it again. Oh, you're talking about AD. But at the time, he wasn't that. Like in his overall body of work, LeBron is definitely that. But at that time, he wasn't.
Yes, I am talking about the Dallas Mavericks franchise will never recover from this. Ike. Yes, I'm talking about that. You already got thousands of fans returning their tickets because you traded their franchise player.
Yeah, no, that's bigger than anything we want to talk about on this show, Sam. I could tell you about Dallas, but we ain't gonna do that.
You know what it's like. I had a Canadian. I had my man Rich Reddy, who comes on the radio every week, and he said, well, in hockey up in Canada, because he's a Canadian dude, he's up in hockey. He said, he said the worst trade I've ever seen ever was Wayne Gretzky getting traded by the Edmonton Oilers. He said the country never recovered. Forget the team, forget the Edmonton Oilers never recovering. The country never recovered. A 27-year-old megastar in the sport being traded to the LA Kings.
But the one thing about the difference between those two guys, Wayne Gretzky didn't have the narrative surrounding how he prepared his preparation or his in-game antics either. So there's a complete difference between why guys were traded. Like Luka is traded for not because of what he produces, it's because of what he doesn't do. I'm telling you, Sam. When you look at these stats right here. That's Luka versus Boston last year.
See,
so 29, 8, 5 on 47 and 24% splits, right? I'm out, or the big guy that's gonna average 25, 11, 2 blocks, 57 and 40. Come on, Sam. And one is gonna play defense, and the other one is not. Remember that. I'm still gonna take Luka.
I'm still gonna take Luka.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna take Luka. Now switch out LeBron. Put LeBron with Luka. Put LeBron with Luka.
Then now you got two cones at this point. You got a cone and a trash can. You got two terrible. You got two guys that are terrible on defense at this point in their career.
All right. And I'm talking about 2020 LeBron. But
anyway, 20 back there. Okay, if you put, you still not gonna win because Luka's not gonna guard nobody.
So see, man, you willing to believe everything they say about Luka too? Now I'm not.
I don't believe. I believe what I see.
And you're willing to believe that everybody that is making the decision to trade him is competent, and I'm not willing to concede that. Like you got.
Hold on. I got to talking to the mic on this one. We're not gonna do my man Nico like that. Nico is sharp as they come.
Well, not just. Well, you make it sound like just the general manager is making the decisions.
Yeah, that was a trade between owners right there.
Yeah, so this ownership group, these casino dudes. You hear all this talk in NBA circles about, hey, what might they be? What might their interest be? Do these dudes want to move the team to Vegas? I mean, you hear all this talk, all this chatter.
Oh, no, they not. They won't be able to move the Mavericks. If sports gambling will be, if it's not legal in Texas right now, it will be soon.
Well, I'm just.
They not moving, Sam. Don't do my
and then the other thing.
Don't do my Dallas people like that. They has been sick with the Mavericks.
The other thing that's very conspicuous to me, man. I mean, you got another lopsided deal in my eyes favoring these big market teams. Beginning of the season. Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle. Another dumbass deal. Like, come on, man. Like, this is ridiculous. Great for the Knicks. What? Minnesota, what the hell are we thinking? This is a dumbass deal. Like, you knew it was dumb when it was made, but you make it anyway. And now it is.
So let me ask you a question, Sam.
But it favors the Lakers. This is great for the big market team. Not so great for Dallas. Like, come on, man.
But I'm a Laker fan, so I remember when they vetoed the Chris Paul trade. So it ain't always been in favor of the big market team.
If David Stern was around, I wonder what this deal had been. Like David Stern was like, nah, not so fast. Hey, y'all not gonna do this deal. Andrew Bynum and all that. Nah, we ain't doing that. David Stern not around no more. and make sure we're not doing dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So
But nah, seriously, Sam. I think you being a bit too harsh. One with Anthony Towns, the Karl Anthony Towns trade. Like, how long were you gonna keep that group together and not get over the hump? Right?
Well, I maybe not, but maybe shop the dude. Maybe shop the dude a little more before you trade him for Julius Randle, or at least in this case with Luka. Man,
you can't shop him. He loses trade value when you shop him. The first, as soon as the first headline gets out, Luka doesn't want to re-sign, or the Mavericks looking to trade because Luka don't want to re-sign. As soon as that hits the press, he loses trade value. I don't care what his name is. That's why Anthony Davis sat in New Orleans for so long before they traded him. Man. Oh, I want to be traded. I'm going to sign with the Lakers as a free agent regardless. You lose trade value.
I guess I would buy that with Cat. I don't buy that with Luka. Because
I'm telling you, Sam, you lose trade value.
He's a unicorn. I mean, it's such a rare circumstance that you trade a player of this, that you talk about trading a player of this ilk. That, man, I don't.
When the Pelicans traded AD, he was about the same. He was the one considered a top 3, 4, 5 player in the league at 25, 26 years old when they traded him too. So we just saw this previously.
And Luka, and I'd argue Luka has even greater value than AD at that time, because Luka has done more than AD did.
I don't think a 6'8" guard winger ever have more value than a 7-footer that's productive.
Luka has taken a team farther than AD did. What are we talking about?
AD is a champion. AD is a champion.
Yeah, playing wingman to LeBron.
No, ain't nobody. 25 and 10 is never a wingman. Don't ever let nobody say that. Put up LeBron stats from the finals.
Oh my God.
Hey, Ben, put up LeBron stats but seriously, you are never a wingman if you averaging 25 and 11 on 52 and 42 or 54 and 42% splits. It's not gonna, like, nobody. I don't get that, Sam.
You mean to tell me that you think AD was Batman and LeBron was Robin on that team?
No, I said they had two Batmans. They had a Batman and a Superman, or a Batman and an Iron Man. They were a mini version of Avengers. Both of them dudes was out there kicking butt, right? So it's like Kobe and Shaq back in the day. Everybody always like Kobe was Shaq wingman. Then they put the stats up. Kobe averaged 30, just like Shaq averaged 30. There's no wingman in that situation. Maybe the first year when Kobe was averaging 15 and whatever in the finals, but the next 2 years, there's no wingman, Sam. There's those two guys out there kicking butt together.
All right, Daniel. Well, I guess we disagree on the. So who's your biggest loser at the trade deadline then?
Man, I would say the Sacramento Kings.
Oh, the Aaron Fox.
Yeah, I say the Sacramento Kings. I just, why? Once again, they let it be known that they were shopping him, and look what they get for him.
And you running it back with Levine and DeMar DeRozan.
Nah, I'm not. They played the Kings like they played. You saw this Levine DeRozan experiment in Chicago, and it didn't work. You think because they got Sabonis with them now, it's going to be better? No, like
those. By the way, those Robin stats for LeBron.
No, those are Batman stats as well. They both were. Those are the stats from the guy who had the ball in his hands the majority of the time. And the other stats is for the big man that played with him. They both out there rocking. I don't know what you don't see.
Okay.
They both was killing. That's why we got number 17? Yeah, that's why we got 17 working on. We won't get 18 until after LeBron leave, though. So that's a different conversation.
Yes, sir. Hey, the San Antonio Spurs. That's a great deal.
Big
time deal. You gave Wemby the catalyst that he needs. I don't.
Fox has the catalyst he needs to take his game to another level as a point guard as well, and that's playing with Chris Paul. Think about all the guys that we've seen since Chris Paul has been on this tour since he left the Hornets, right? Think about all the guys he's played with and the residual effects that they've had after they've, whether it be Russ, not Russ, but what's the kid now killing in OKC?
Shy.
Yeah, got him. You could go down the list. It's a number of guys that have played with him. And because his wisdom and whatever he imparts on guys, their games go to another level, especially other guards. So I think that was a great move for Fox.
Yeah, man. I think it was a great move for Fox. I think it was a great move for San Antonio. I do think it was lopsided. I'm curious.
That's definitely lopsided.
As to why you want to repeat the Chicago experiment. Like, I'm not saying don't trade De'Aaron Fox, but that move, I know.
But that's what happens when you let people know he's on the block. That's them the type of deals you get. The type of deals you get. You would think you should be able to trade De'Aaron Fox for another player of his caliber, right? If this was NBA 2K. But once you let people know that he's on the trading block, his value immediately goes down. I ain't saying it's going to plummet, but you're not about to get a De'Aaron Fox caliber level player in return.
Yeah, man.
So the fact that the Lakers were able to get an MVP candidate and a defensive MVP candidate in return makes that deal not as bad as people trying to make it to be. I thought the Mavericks won the trade actually, but that's a different conversation.
Man, you really smoking right now.
I thought the Mavericks won the trade. I don't want to say anybody won the trade, right? Because in what I learned in negotiations, Sam, it was a deal that both sides were happy with. So only thing that's going to determine who won the trade is what level of success both teams have moving forward. So,
yeah, I suppose. We gonna see. I think they're gonna regret this. I think they're gonna regret it. Period. Maybe not the owners. Maybe not the owners, because they didn't want to pay him the Supermax, clearly.
I wouldn't pay him the Supermax, and I can't trust him to take care of himself.
Will it save him some money? This dude, they better hope, and they got to play him too. Oh my God, they better hope this dude don't win. Woo! If he wins,
but Sam, even if how can you pay a guy $330 million and it's all the things that you laid out? You said we know he likes hookah, we know he drinks beer.
You know he likes hookah, you know he drinks beer, and he's been winning doing that. That's the thing.
No, Sam, he hasn't won a single thing in the NBA. He hasn't won anything other than individual awards.
He's been winning, and if you can put the right influence around him, like, look, you haven't been able to get it. I don't want to.
And you think Draymond's that guy? Hell no.
I give that a try before I trade him. Like, this is asinine. It's asinine. That's a better move than trading him.
Would you have traded Kyrie instead?
Instead of Luka?
Yeah, that's what. So if you would have said that, because I
wouldn't have traded either one of them. I would have brought another piece. I would try to bring another piece to the puzzle.
With what?
You got some other pieces over there?
You had Quentin Grimes and who's the other guy
over there? I mean, some picks. I don't know if
they don't have a whole lot to.
I don't know if they're restricted. I mean, you know how some of these teams, they've traded so many first round picks they can't trade the picks. I don't know if they're in that place. Yeah. But I would have made some moves to try to get a veteran presence, to try to shape him up and bring some maturity before I moved a player of this caliber. But
you got to think the Mavericks gave up a lot of resources bringing in Kyrie 2 years ago as well. So they don't have a lot of first round picks and all these assets to move.
So yeah, I don't know that piece of it. So again, I may be speaking out of turn by talking about the picks part. But there's no way I would have done this. I would have waited it out until I had some more capital before I did this. But I digress. You look at what do you think of Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors?
That's a retirement home. That's a retirement home. Like, people want to make AD out to be, he's this. AD's 31 years old. Like he's not that old. Like he's past 30, but he's still in his prime.
I don't know. That body might be older than that.
Like he's 31 and still in his prime. These guys in Golden State, they 34, 34, and 36. That's a retirement home, Sam.
You acting like that dude's body not so beat up. That's why he's been on the bench so much, because his body's so beat up.
Yeah, and even through all of that, he's still in the MVP conversation and the defensive MVP conversation. So I don't know what both of them are. And if you think Luka's not going to be hurt a lot moving forward, the way if he'd have stayed in Dallas. Now I think now that he's in LA, you'll see him make a lot of changes being around LeBron James. Like if you don't, you silly. You're not. If he doesn't, he's everything the Mavs said he was, and then some. If you're not smart enough to go be around LeBron James and not get the secret sauce to keeping your body in shape, keep your body right.
This is about to be funny. Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green on the same team. That's about to be hilarious.
They either go fight each other or they go beat up somebody else.
That's hilarious. Hey, man, and so KD was like, "Nah, I ain't going." He was like, "Nope." They said it was a deal in place that would have sent KD back to Golden State and would have sent Jimmy to Phoenix, which is where he wanted to go. But the thing that put it when he nixed the deal, thing to put Golden State back on the table is Golden State said they would give him the money. They said because originally Golden State said they wouldn't sign him to the extension. And then Golden State realized we got to do something. If we're going to make Steph happy, we got to go ahead and do it. So they said they would sign him to the extension. So
I'm going to keep it real with you, Sam. These 35, 36-year-old dudes, unless you're a couple of these guys, man, they got way too many demands and they have way too many problems in the league right now, man. Y'all keep on these young boys. You're going to see a lot of these older guys go get pushed out the league slowly but surely because they can't handle certain transitions in their careers. And I'm starting to see that from Jimmy Butler's one of them. He still thinks he's an elite player.
Well, he's getting elite player money, 2 years, $111 million. So, he's like, give me my money. And Miami wasn't ready to give him that money. So,
give me my money. As a buyer, you always got to question why the home team won't pay you.
Yeah, so Golden State was willing to. Got a 2-year window with Steph to see if they can make something happen. I don't think it gets him out of the West, but it makes Steph happy. It makes Steph happy, and that's what's most important.
Let me see who of the top 4 or 5 teams in the West, do you see them beating any of those guys now they added Jimmy Butler?
They don't beat OKC.
No.
They don't beat.
I don't think they beat the Lakers with Jimmy Butler, and that's without AD. I still don't think they beat the Lakers.
Yeah, they don't beat what do you got? Denver, Houston's up there now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Houston's pretty good. They won't beat Houston either.
Yeah, Houston. Thing you got a question about Houston is they don't have that playoff experience, so you wonder about that. But Denver will be there. Denver will be there in the end, and I don't think it beats them. So
you think Big Fella gonna win another third straight MVP, or you think he'll win another MVP this year? No, he didn't win it. They won't be third straight because somebody else won last year, didn't he?
Yeah, I wouldn't go there.
Another 30-point triple-double.
So
who you got for MVP? Shy or
yeah, I think this year. Let me see where we got. I think Shea is
Shy, Joker, or Giannis are the 3.
I think Shea will be he will be a real big favorite considering the standings. Considering the standings and considering how much hardware the other 2 got already.
And people were saying he should have won it last year.
Yeah. And he leading the league. He's still leading the league in scoring over Giannis too.
Yeah, I got Shea winning it.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, folks. We gonna put it in the bag. We gonna put it in the bag for the night. I had no idea. I thought that segment was gonna go different. We were gonna be jumping around, but we got stuck. That's normally me. That's normally me and DG getting stuck. But it was me and Daniel tonight. It was me and Daniel tonight getting stuck unexpectedly. So there you go. But that happens sometimes on Dropping Dimes, right?
Yeah.
Happens sometimes on Dropping Dimes.
But hey, that's one of the things we boys, but we don't agree on everything.
It's true. It is true. That's how it happens. That's how it happens, right? Steve Horn said, hey, look, Steve, this wound up being a basketball show. So Devin was like, nah. Like, nah. He would be sitting in the back brushing his hair.
Mm-hmm.
Squeezing
his eyebrows.
Diving in every blue moon, wondering if he was there. So he'll be back next week because we'll be talking about the Super Bowl or something, right?
Yes, sir.
So there you go. But as always, folks, we appreciate you. We got 3,000 strong tonight. So we appreciate those of you who dropped in on Dropping Dimes. Until next week, folks, we'll be seeing you on the next edition of Steady Dropping Dimes.
Yes, sir.